Hi, it's Michael and David here, presenting Small Business Banter. A healthy micro and small business sector means a successful economy and a more vibrant society. Small Business Banter is about helping regional business owners better prepare for the current challenges and also for the next stage of business success. I'm Michael Kerr, founder of Kerr Capital, advisors to business owners. Each week with David Gregory, CEO of the Small Business Mentoring Service, we'll interview a different small business expert or a fellow business owner and operator. And they're going to share their best tips and insights for you, the listener. Small Business Banter is brought to you from the studios of 104.7 Gippsland FM and heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network. Thanks also to our supporters, Kerr Capital and the Small Business Mentoring Service. So on today's episode of Small Business Banter, I'm very pleased to welcome in Carly Flecknoe. Carly is a resident of Halls Gap in Victoria. She's quite an entrepreneur, involved in a number of businesses that she started up there, a number of community initiatives. Really looking forward to our discussion with Carly. But just to give you a little bit of a sense of what she's done, she's started a produce store, she started a branding and communications agency. She's festival director of Grampians Music Festival. And recently, what really got me interested to chat to her was our founder of Made the Grampians Way. So we'll look forward to our discussion shortly. Unfortunately, again, David, my co-host, unable to make it due to very severe work commitments, but we're going to get on with it anyway. Hi, Carly. Welcome into our Small Business Banter radio show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I know you were under duress getting back to Halls Gap in time for this interview.
Nothing like a little bit of pressure.
You sound like you made for it with all of what I just reeled off there. Do you want to just give a full rollout of what you've done and we'll get started on a conversation about community and small business?
Yeah, sure. So I moved with my husband to Halls Gap and now Pomona about 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago. And we moved because we actually wanted to create business opportunity, have space for business opportunity and move out of the Melbourne environment. So the first thing we did was we created Harvest Halls Gap, which is a cafe focusing on local produce with a providor that actually championed local produce. From there, I guess that helped us get our connection to the community and we expanded from there. So that was really where our grassroots started. Yeah. So you had did you have a connection with the Halls Gap prior to moving there, or did you grow up in the area or something? Or I didn't, apart from finding it really beautiful and seeing the opportunity. Those two things kind of went hand in hand. We were here the year prior to when we moved, and I've always had a strong passion for food, especially food that comes close to the table. And so we saw the opportunity or the burgeoning opportunity in Halls Gap for that type of food. Essentially, where we were here, that was what gave us that inspiration to choose it as the place to go to.
Yeah, okay. So you saw lots of lovely produce around and you thought you could do something with that.
That's right. Incredible wineries and just space to continue to expand on that when there were olive groves and producers here, but no real platform at that stage.
Okay. So Carly, you were inspired by the produce and you said about starting your first business, but can you just backtrack a little, your move out of Melbourne corporate to regional small business? Was it just taking the opportunities on and chewing like crazy to make them work? I'm fascinated by, was there a lot of planning or was it, this is a good idea, we're going to make it work?
It happened very quickly, and that's something that is pretty standard for myself more than my husband. He's a bit more thoughtful than I am.
More analytical.
I tend to be Mr. Shoot from the hip. We were both in a situation in our corporate lives where we were feeling a little bit like hamsters on a wheel, to be honest. So we were achieving moderately well, but being in big business, not really feeling how that was having any impact. And I guess for me especially, so Richard's originally from Ballarat. My husband's originally from Ballarat. So he has a slightly regional connection.
Yeah, same
there
direction.
Was a bit of and there's a bit of a desire to kind of head back to that at some point. And the cafe, Richard sometimes needle at me was my idea. And I've got a background, kind of uni days, I guess, in hospitality and retail. I worked in retail on and off for about 7 years and actually managed a retail store while I was studying. So it didn't feel completely foreign, but at the same time, when I look back on it now, we started with essentially no knowledge and really learned as we went, and jumped on a really steep learning curve and just basically took every opportunity that was given to us through customer feedback, staff feedback, being in the process of it to just learn and grow. And that is literally, we chomped and chomped and chomped until we got there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which way you do it, as long as you do it.
And I think, look, it's just if it's done with integrity, and I guess that's what we still stand with, is to do it with integrity. And if you do that, then you're going to end up with a great product.
So the local small business sector there, sounds like you've been a very key part of it. Small businesses in regional communities and this, all of the small businesses make very much for how the economy is going to do in that local area, don't they?
Yeah, very much so. I think that works in both a tourism destination and in regional Victorian areas that rely on other forms of industry. I think small business is what allows people in the community to continue to connect and live in that community. It provides other livelihoods through jobs for those communities. And in the tourism sector, it literally actually is the reason that people come to visit the destination.
Okay. Yeah, so really keen. So one of your the next venture was the local music festival. So what was your reasoning behind getting involved? I'm guessing you really like your music, but what was your thinking about, starting something like that?
Within my incredibly broad range of hats that I have, one of the things that I did while I was in Melbourne in the communications and events space was I actually did work in the music area. And there was a jazz festival that was in the region for a very long time. And when it departed, there was a council and tourism initiative to get another music festival to take its place. So I was on the initial voluntary committee, and then further on from that, I took on the festival director role. And there were two reasons, I suppose, why I took on that position. One, I understood what a music festival could do for a regional area, and how much it could have an impact on the small businesses and also the people that live there. And the other reason was being able to really make a footprint in what music festivals were and what they stood for. So from a diversity and environmental standpoint and things like that, we were able to actually really make a platform. So it's kind of along those two ways that I got involved.
So what specifically, you talked about what it could bring to a local community. What are those things? I'm interested to hear you talk about that.
I think if the festival is used to really integrate with a local community, then it can do a lot for both the economy and for awareness. It can also do a lot for education. So for one, you've got people visiting the area. So we didn't have on-site camping, which meant that people were using local accommodation. It also meant that, they'd go and buy a coffee and they get their groceries from the supermarket, etc., when they would come to the festival. So that's really integral. You're also promoting the region every time you promote the festival. So you're assisting with the tourism for the area. And then the other thing that we took on board was the opportunity in regional areas to show young people that there were opportunities for them that were more than either ag or working at a Woolies or anything like that, that they had opportunities that were bigger and broader than that. We personally used to run a youth mentor program. So we have people up to the age of 21 who can get involved with learning how to run the music festival. And so it was those sort of things where we really wanted to be able to make sure that they were giving back to the community. There are other festivals that do it and do it really well. Pitch Festival in Moyston does a great arts and grants program that integrates in with their local community, and a lot more of those regional festivals are starting to see that they need to not just turn up and throw a festival and go away, but actually give back to the location that they're being able to use.
Right. So you can bring an audience, but you're saying also that they need to, think about the footprint and who else, what employment opportunities, what learning opportunities it creates for local kids or young adults. Perhaps
most definitely. Yeah, 100%. I think so. And, festivals can be draining on the resources of a small town. They use up the roads. Suddenly you've got thousands of people who are all trying to buy bags of ice at the same time. So it's nice to know that you're actually sort of in a way saying thank you and giving something back to those spaces.
Yeah, okay. So how many years has that festival been operational, and did it run this year?
It did run this year. The Paw Festival actually got hit by both regional Victorian bushfire and COVID attendance issues, but we will overcome those. So it was at its fourth year, and we won't be running 2021. Social distancing and all those things are going to make it really difficult, but we've got plans to address how we can continue to run it in the future in one way or another.
Yeah, okay. So then the next, it's great that, sounds like you're driving the festival to support the town, create opportunities, but also pursue something that you personally attached to.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And the next, and this is the trigger for the conversation. You were featured in the Weekly Times, and I wanted to really focus on Made the Grampians Way as a program that you've designed, but also as a template or a model for other communities to do something similar. Mm-hmm. I suppose the same goes for a music festival, and perhaps you can, I'm sure, are you happy for people to reach out if they wanted some advice on?
More than happy to. If I've got skills that I can share, I'm more than happy to share them.
Because we will, as we do, put any of the links or anything we talk about on the website for the radio show, which is smallbusinessbanter.com. But let's get back to Made the Grampians Way. Tell me how that started and what it's setting out to do.
It had an organic evolution, I suppose. I was commencing a retail store called Dot and Frankie, and it was focusing, I should say, on fashion, homewares, skincare that are all environmentally friendly and environmentally sustainable. And through that process, I wanted to be able to work with local creators the same way that we did with Harvest. And I was starting to connect with some really incredible producers and creators and makers who do a lot of their work from their sheds and, in their workspaces in regional Victoria. And aren't necessarily aware, don't have the platform, don't have the time to be able to push the products while also promoting the fact that they're from a regional destination. And I knew that I would then have the platform to be able to do that. So I initially started wanting to be able to highlight products that had come from my region. I'm really proud of what people do here, and so I wanted to show it off.
And you're supporting people that are doing these great things, but maybe they're not natural marketers or they're not natural promoters of what they do, but, it takes somebody else to say, this is really, really good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was nodding away into the microphone, which you won't be able to see if you're listening. But that's exactly right. If you're really skilled in one area, it doesn't mean that you automatically have the toolkit to be able to work in other spaces and use your skills in other spaces. So when I thought I was going to do that, I just went, well, why would I do this just for my store? It doesn't make any sense when we can actually use this for the Grampians as a whole region. And a lot of people have become aware over the past 5-10 years of the agricultural side of the products that are coming out, the food and wine side. But when it comes to textiles or skincare or jewelry, those things are all very, very new. And so it allowed us to, I guess, create a weight behind the marketing program by getting everybody to be able to come on board with something as simple as a logo and a hashtag, something very recognizable, something very easy to remember, and then something very easy to use. So,
yeah. And we are talking with Carly Flecknoe, who's the founder of a number of businesses, but the one we're just chatting about is Made the Grampians Way. What for local small businesses, what do they need to do to get on board with Made the Grampians Way? I mean, is it you encouraging them? Is there a website or a logo? I mean, I'm interested just in how it actually, gets out there into the world as a Made the Grampians Way.
So I started an initial conversation with Grampians Tourism because they're our regional marketing board. And when I decided that I wanted to use it more broadly than my store, I thought that's probably the first place to have a good discussion. And they were completely positive with the idea and were happy to help share that and use that social media tag to be able to also, what's the word I'm looking for? Bulk up their social media collateral, essentially. So they now have a whole wealth of additional social media collateral. So they offered to actually create the logo for me, and that was sort of their input, which was amazing. So we do now have a logo and a style guide. We've got stickers and we've got swing tags that you can use, that you can also put the producer's story on if you want to. So in terms of how that's shared, I've basically gone out to all the producers and creators that I know and also asked them to share it with producers and creators that they know. And I am able to then create or order those for them, or they can do it themselves. So I just had a conversation with Great Western Granary, who are a sourdough producer just here, and they're going to use that logo and actually just have it put on all of their future labels. So they won't need a sticker. And then that artwork becomes recognisable in itself. Other people will use the stickers or the swing tags. And then the other thing they can use is the hashtag of Made the Grampians Way, which is searchable on social media. So I could have created a website and I could have created an Instagram page or a Facebook page. I decided that I actually didn't want to. What I wanted was the searchability, and then people to then be able to use that material as they needed, whether that is Grampians Tourism, whether it's one of our local councils, whether it's Visit Victoria, whoever it is that wants to pick that up. And then they've got their own catalogue of producers and creators and materials that they can look at and use as they need.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, look, and it's a very clever approach, and I'm guessing also that you're presenting an opportunity and to local producers, and there's also got to be some activity from them to get involved. Is it taking a lot of time, or are you finding everyone's really receptive to the concept, and it's easy to get people?
It's an interesting time because I'm seeing some people jump onto it really, really quickly, and some people are taking a little bit more convincing. But I also think that is inherent to their own creative process and production process and how they work. So I'm sure with anything you'll always see early adapters and people who jump on board with it really, really fast, and then other people when they start to see how the product works and what its intention is, that they'll come along a little bit more. So I've probably got, if I think about it, I think we've got about 12 different creators that have come on board at this stage, which I'm really happy with. I think if you can get that, then especially because a couple of them are sort of seen as leaders, I guess, in the space, then you're going to start to see more weight come behind it. The hashtag's taken on really, really well. And that's been really great to see. And I guess the other thing we're starting to see at the moment is because we are in a COVID environment, that use of online shopping and social media shopping is putting a lot more strength behind the purpose of the hashtag.
Yeah, we just finished an interview recently with Kerry Anderson, who's a real advocate for regional small business communities, and she was encouraging everybody to. We gave her the opportunity for one thing at the end of the interview. She said, "Shop locally." So,
yeah, 100%.
In 5 years, you've done an awful lot, and it's a real model for firstly for I think some potential listeners who are thinking about getting out of a major city. So the way in for you was just get involved and and you have on numerous things, and they're all they're community as well as your personal business things. Just wanted to talk to you what as you see generally opportunities for regional areas. You've talked about moving the thinking away just from ag, for example, and tech is something that's getting more and more of a focus because you don't need to be necessarily anywhere specific to start a tech business. What are the and we've covered produce and creative things. What else do you see out there as opportunities?
Oh, look, what we would classify as essential services are always required in regional areas as much as they are cities. So if you're a tradie or you're a mechanic or any of those kinds of things, you can definitely take up the opportunity. But it's really going to hinge on the destination that you're looking at and doing some really great research, I think. If you're someone who is a creator who can look at a business opportunity and say, is this something that I can do, then you can pick an area in Victoria that you're interested in, and you can actually
right across the country. Yeah.
Well, yeah, 100% right across the country, and you can actually look at that community and what you think is available there. And I know that's not giving you a definitive little honeypot answer, but I think that's the key with regional areas is that there really is so much opportunity, and there's so much skill that is often funneled into city centres that it means that if you're someone who has a talent that that you can share, you've got that space. If you're willing to be creative, if you're willing to be friendly, if you're willing to also think outside of the box and do a bit of hard miles and convincing people as to the reason that you're there, that you can really thrive.
Yeah, I mean, it also, and not that we're talking about other episodes, but we had another great interview with Jo Palmer from Pointer Remote Roles, and her business is about taking advantage of the great talent out in regional Australia as potentially as employees, but also as subcontractors or consultants. So it really is, it looks like it's opening up. I just want to talk to you about your kind of small business heroes and where you draw your inspiration from, simply to perhaps for someone else listening out in wherever they might be in Queensland or Northern Territory or Western Australia, wherever, so that you just want to share a few of your heroes. You must have a few because you've kicked a lot of goals since you've landed in holes to help you keep motivated.
Yeah, look, I'm not a great nonfiction reader, so I don't really read a lot of books, and that's probably not the quintessential way to answer that question. But what I would say
you should be writing one based on all the experiences you've had in the last.
When I don't have toddlers, I might actually do that. But what I really love is actually networking, and I can network both with my own community and my own broader region through business groups that way, and sort of find out what makes people tick that way. And also on social media. So I'm part of a number of social media business groups where we talk and share ideas, and when we're stuck on a particular point, we can actually go through and debate and have conversations about ways to solve it. And I have found that incredibly helpful. Filtering some of my ideas and working out whether or not they're crazy. So that works for me. So
you're not so much about just owner to owner interaction, and you can learn an awful lot. You can have great advisors and accountants, and you need all those, but talking to other owners, if we can get more of that happening, and that's why we like to share here.
Well, they've lived their chance that you're going through a problem that makes you feel like you're doing it by yourself, and the moment you put it out there, you realise you're not alone.
Probably happened to someone before.
Exactly.
You also talked about, and we've got just a minute or two left, but you referenced in getting the music festival up and then made the Grampians Way, local government agencies and council. So I think they sound like you've created good relationships and they've played a really important role in what you do as well.
100%. And I think when you're in smaller regional areas, like I can tell you when I was in Melbourne, I didn't have much to do with my council. I didn't really know a lot about it. I certainly wouldn't have known anything about our tourism marketing body. But when you're in a regional area, you realise how much of a toolkit that they've got and how much they're there to support you. and creating those great relationships, not being scared to go and have a conversation with them is vital. I'm currently working on trying to get a nature-based playground in Pomona, so get a grant, and I'm working with my local council for that and just having discussions about what is and isn't feasible. And, they can help you in all sorts of ways, whether it's through small business mentorship or it's assisting you in locating grants, or they may be able to get someone to do some financial counselling. You definitely should not underestimate the way that your council might be able to assist you.
Yeah. So you've talked about tourism bodies, local councils, economic development, state government, perhaps.
Yeah, state government as well. I actually have a really great relationship with our local member because they've got their finger in pies that you don't even know about, and connections to committees that you're not aware of. So that can be really helpful. Yeah.
So that it's a thread right through this conversation is you and others kind of connecting and reaching out and tapping into these resources. So you've done an awful lot. It's fantastic to hear that 20-odd minute chat about what you've done, and hopefully other owners listening in will be inspired to take some of that action and revitalise their local small business sector. And but thank you very much for your time today, Carly. We will not. We'll put some information up on our smallbusinessbanter.com website. But really appreciate your time and sharing those wonderful experiences to help other communities and other owners.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carly. In our discussion, Carly mentioned a couple of networks that she was a real fan of. We'll put them up on the smallbusinessbanter.com website. That is the links. But if you can't wait, you want to check out the two that she's a real fan of. One of them is Lady Startup from Mia Friedman, and the other one, mild language warning, like-minded bitches drinking wine. She, excuse the pun, swears by both of them, but check them out. So that's all for today's episode of Small Business Banter. David and I continue to be inspired by bringing you small business experts and hearing your stories. For any of the links, resources or information we've talked about on the show today, or to contact David or I, please head over to smallbusinessbanter.com. And David and I would love you to tune in at the same time next week for another episode of Small Business Banter.